If you find yourself adding multiple events to your calendar for you to keep track of a process that spans maybe weeks or months, then this spreadsheet is for you. Plus, we can add all the steps to your calendar in one click. Let's get started. There are lots of steps that go into planning an IEP, and using this spreadsheet, I will show you how to map all of those steps out once, then plug in a student's name and a meeting date, and we'll watch how all of those dates magically calculate backwards to keep you on schedule. After you save a copy of this spreadsheet to your Google Drive, open it up and let's look around to see what each piece does. So this first tab here has student name and date, and then probably a link to this video. Then underneath it, I've got 3 different flavors of things that have multiple steps. You can customize these to whatever you want. Doesn't have to be about school stuff. So under the IEP tab, I've listed out all the different things that need to go on for an IEP to help me understand and keep track of what I need to do. I've got the date set on this tab for the 18th, and then from this, the 18th, when the actual IEP is held, I've got multiple things that backdate up and a few things afterwards that has to happen. And of course, my process will look different from yours, so you can customize what these say by scrolling down, and I've listed out each of the items that control what you see up here. So by changing all of this down here, it will change what you see up here. And you can change the date difference. So on day 0 is the date here. Anything above it pushes the date forwards. Anything negative pushes the date backwards. But that already runs into an issue, because what if that hits on a weekend? I've already put a column in here called holiday error, which is also checking for weekends, which we'll see in this next tab right here. So it looks like just picking this date, random date of 4/18, it looks like I'm gonna hit a lot of weekends doing that. But don't worry, we'll fix those in a minute. It may look a little weird that we've got these blank columns for the times and a location and a description. This is to make it easier to import into your calendar. So if you take all of this information and you copy it into this last tab called calendar prep, this is the format that it needs to sit in order for it to go into your calendar correctly. You're welcome to go ahead and put default start times and end times if you want them all to show in at certain parts of your day, then it can. Listing them blank like this will just put them as all day events on your calendar at the top. So these 3 tabs here are just 3 different examples of things that I want to keep track of, and you're welcome to duplicate, delete, and make your own versions of these and rename them to whatever you want. But they all plug in the student's name here. So whatever's typed in here is just being pumped in to the end of each of the event names. For IEPs, maybe you've got multiple students and you need to keep track of which student's doing which step at different times throughout the year. So having that little reference or spelling it out or whatever you want can help keep track of all that. So let's talk about this holiday error column here. So it looks like I've got several of them that are gonna fall on a holiday. What's the best way to go about this, and how do you add more holidays that are different from what I have on here already? So if you go down to the skip tab, these are all the days that it's going to skip or flag as a holiday. I just went to our school's PDF calendar and scraped the dates from that and put them into the spreadsheet. Often it will just list the first day and the last day for a fall break, so make sure to go back and fill in the rest of the days. Weekends can be generated by typing in 2 of them. So just do Saturday, back to back. So these are 2 Saturdays back to back. And so if we have 2 Saturdays here, if we highlight them both, if we click and drag down, it highlights both of them. Sheets will realize that your pattern is skipping 7 days. And so you can just drag down and it will continue the pattern of every 7 days, which happens to fall on a Saturday. Same thing here. So let me click on both Saturdays and drag down, and it should continue the Saturday. If you just drag one day, it will just do every day, and that's not okay. The one thing to keep in mind with this is what's looking for this holiday error is only looking down so many rows. And so I've got it to look down, I think we're on row 172. It's only looking down to row 200. Okay, so row 200 is how far it's looking down in the skip column. So if you got dates past 200, you may want to update the formulas. So let me just put a little red line there to be like, anything past this can be bad. There we go. Okay, great. We've got, so say you've already went in here and you've set up your holidays and your weekends or times dates you're not available. Then that will make sure that these will alert you on times that don't fit 7 days, beforehand, it's not going to work for you, that's okay. I have one in between step before it goes on your calendar to go ahead and massage these dates into good dates, but that happens on this last calendar prep slide. So after the initial setup of getting all your skip days in here and figuring out which thing you're doing, so I've got kid's name, the date, bam, it pumps all that in. I'm gonna just copy all of this out. So I'm just gonna click and drag, highlight all of these. There's no description. If you put a description, make sure to include that as well. Copy, and I go to calendar prep, go to this very second cell, and paste values only. That's important because it's copying. That will keep it from copying over the formulas that tell it K Jones versus the next student's name. So it's just text. This is helpful because now you can manipulate the dates and it's not going to matter. It's not going to mess up your other formulas. So now we can go here and we can change this to Friday. So bump it up a day. One way to do this is just go through the first column and make all the fixes. And once you get all of column 1 fixed, then all you got to do is copy all of these, the whole thing, and then paste them into this one. Don't have them be 2 different dates. They got to match, or else the event will span across multiple days from the original date backwards, and that could be very confusing. So just go through all of these, fix them up, and then copy these. Control C, Control V. There we go. And before we get them into your calendar, we need to get rid of this H column because it doesn't recognize the H column in Outlook or Google Calendar. And so we're literally going to delete it and then undo and bring it back. So let's take the H column, right click on it, and hit delete column. And we're going to quickly go to File, Download, CSV, comma, separated values. And as soon as you do that, go back and hit undo and bring back our error column because that was very handy to make sure that we didn't accidentally hit a weekend. So there we go. We've got our column back here. So H column is back. We're good to go. Now that we've got the file downloaded, let's go ahead and upload it to a converter because currently it's a CSV file, which is like a table like you see here. And we need to turn it into an ICS file, which is a calendar file that Outlook recognizes. If you're going to upload this to Google Calendar, you can skip this step because Google Calendar will take the CSV file just fine. It's Outlook that needs to be converted. So for my Outlook people, I just Google CSV ICS converter online, and the first one looks great. Choose file. There it is. There it all is. Hit open, convert. It found them all. Download file. Some Outlooks you could just click it, but I think if you have a newer version of Outlook, you may need to go into Outlook, hit calendar on the left, and then on your right above your listings of your calendars is a button that says add calendar. Click there, go to upload file on the left, browse, find it, and hit open. Oh, it's asking which calendar. Okay. So I've got multiple calendars at work. So I want on my main calendar would be great. Thank you. Hit import. Spinning here. If you know you have a lot of different students you want to go ahead and book out, you can go ahead and repeat this first few steps of picking a new name, Jay Johnson. And theirs will need to be done on the 23rd. All of those have appeared. Let me pull these out, copy, calendar prep, paste, make sure to paste with values only. So that's Control Shift V if you want to be fancy. And you can just put all of them. And so the next kid, you can do the same thing and you can just like put a bunch on this calendar preps page, update all of the dates, make sure to adjust both dates, do that for the whole sheet. Then you can delete H, export as CSV, restore column H, and then you can have all of those in one calendar file. You don't have to do one student at a time or one event or whatever you're doing. You can do it all at once if you already know the due dates for all of them. So if I search my calendar for K Jones, there we go. It's already found. There they all are all laid out on the calendar already. I see them all here at 12 a.m. very tiny at the top. I think what went wrong is maybe the converter I chose did not honor it being a full day event like I said it would. So to prevent that, you may want to go ahead and pop in times here, which is very easy to do. So let's go back to our IEP one and say we want to check on these every day at 7 a.m. So 7 a.m. I believe it's probably best to do this in military time. So if you're doing evenings, say we want to upload the files in the evening, so we'll do 15 for 3 o'clock. There we go. I just filled in a bunch of times from 7 to 7:30. That way they'll show up on a time block that I can see on my normal day instead of at midnight. You're welcome even to put a description if you want to put like a note to self, like, hey, when you do this step, this is what you need to do, or a little reminder. You can put those for each of the steps if you'd so like. For Google Calendar people, it's even easier. Just go to the cog here, hit settings, and go to import export, select file from computer. And after you do the CSV file, you can just take that CSV file and import that sucker. Open, tell it which calendar you want to go to, and hit import. I personally love this because it helps me never to let a multi-day process sneak up on me again. If you have a process that you repeat in a very systematic way, such as creating an IEP, then you can set up the steps and add all of them to your calendar in a single import. Especially if the project's checkpoints don't fit a standard occurrence like every third Saturday or every other Wednesday. Calendars have built-in repeat feature for stuff like that. That's great. But when it's kind of like, it all depends and it's kind of shifty everywhere, this is a great way to get a lot of that all just in there. Feel free to tweak or improve the spreadsheet as needed. What fits your needs, it's all yours, go for it. I've already made some changes to my own version of it to where I add duration, and so I can tell it this is a quick task that takes me 30 minutes, that takes me 2 hours. Based on that, it changes the times and updates it from 30 minutes to an hour to 3 hours based on the duration. I hope this helps, and happy planning.